Excellent. Thank you very much for that. I saw Susie rub her hands in glee, so I'm sure she's champing at the bit. But Susie, what parts of the regulations would you change?
Oh, well, if anyone's read my blogs, there's a long list. But I completely agree with Sam and Alex. It's hard to lose sight of the intention, and the intention is really solid on this. We should be checking and worrying about overheating risk for new homes. That is important. I think at the moment, what I'm thinking about most is the simplified method is not simple. We've known that from the get-go, and I think I would like to see it simplified, particularly for the lower risk locations. I think it's frustrating that it's so hard. It's very unintuitive, so it's quite hard to look at a scheme and know instinctively whether it'll pass or fail, in a way that I can do more so with TM59. I've got more of an instinct for that than I have for the simplified method, which is frustrating because actually the simplified method, it should be simple. But because it lurches around depending on your floor areas and your glazing areas and your orientations and your, it makes it hard to be confident. And I think that's unfortunate, because I think that frustrates everyone, that it's not simpler. The other thing that's a bit more niche, but the other thing that's really bugging me at the moment is, apart from what I've already gone on about, the nighttime bedroom window opening regimes within the modelling side of TM Part O, that they've changed TM59 for reasons that they haven't justified. So there's deviation from what TM59 says and what Part O says, which is confusing for modellers, and it's not, if they haven't given a rationale or an evidence base for why bedroom windows need to be either open wide all night if it's 23 degrees when you go to bed at 11, or completely shut all night if it's below 23 when you go to bed at 11 p.m. I think the thinking behind it is probably sensible, in that the argument is that people don't wake up in the middle of the night to open or close windows, but actually what they do is leave it a bit open at night, because it might get warmer, it might get colder. And what the consequence of this is, what we're seeing is east-facing bedrooms, which are cooler in the afternoon and therefore more likely to be under 23 at 11 p.m. But then the windows are shut all night, and at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. in the middle of early summer, the sun comes up. We've got no curtains, remember? So the sun comes streaming through really early in the day to those east-facing bedrooms, warms them up. You cannot open the windows until, I think it's 7 or 8 a.m. when the occupants are deemed to be awake. And those early hours clock up on the overheating and you fail. And there's very little design-wise you can do, apart from try and make them overheat more during the day by having bigger windows in order for, it's a small issue, but it affects some bedrooms, and it's really frustrating because you can't actually design it out, and it drives me slightly mad. So I don't know why they've implemented that. It seems really counterintuitive. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, rant over. That will be my next blog as well. Apart from that, yeah, I mean, I think I agree. They're totally written in the wrong order. Really annoying, because I think people miss the bits that's mandatory, whatever method you're following, because that comes up last. And I'm hopeful. I mean, I'm not hearing good things, but the Future Homes Standard consultation is has been due out for some time now. I believe it's going to cover Part O, but I think there is scope within consultation feedback for people to sort of campaign for Part O to be tweaked, if not fully updated, within that Future Homes consultation. So we'll see.
James, did you want to come in now?
Perhaps the only time I could ever perhaps correct Susie, because most of the time she's correcting me. But on the FAQs of ADO, and this is what our industry latched onto, is that it, and I'll put it in the chat box, a snapshot. It does say that if you want to provide noise attenuation, you can open the windows a smaller amount at night. So the wording in the printed version of ADO says if it hits 23 degrees at 11 p.m. They should be fully open. But this section, FAQ 14, clarifies that you can have them open a smaller amount of night to provide noise attenuation. So you can actually model them differently at night to get you that noise attenuation.
But what triggers them to open is still the same. They open less, but you can't open them. You can't open them when it's cooler than 23 degrees at 11 p.m. Can't open at all.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah.
So it's still, yeah.
And also one thing that we've developed is so I think depending on the software you use, you can define how the windows open at different times of the day. But in IES, for example, you can't. You set the opening. You set it to open in accordance with that scripted profile that ADO defines, and you set the equivalent area for the opening, for example, and it follows that process day or night. So we've had to rewrite some of the Python script to actually tell the modeling to open a capped amount, to open fully in the day, but then a reduced amount, but only triggered if it hits 23 at night, and a fixed profile at night. So it's taken a bit of working of coding to actually get the software to do what really we need to do as standard as for to account for noise properly at night. So yeah, there's all sorts of intricacies that we have to do, unfortunately, to get this to work.